we have our slider. It looks like an iOS slider. It acts like an iOS slider. It's time to give it a second thumb and turn it into a double-headed slider. Now don't worry, the way we've set up this view, it should be a very simple process. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to need, instead of just one value, we're going to need two. We're going to need a min value and a max value. But let's start really by just renaming this value to min value. And everywhere that that value appears, we're going to change it to min value. This slider, though, we don't need this anymore. We were using that to design our slider. We're done. Our slider looks like that slider, so we don't need it. We also then don't need this VStack. So let's get rid of that. Okay, now, and we can reindent. Now, in places where we have a min value, we need a min value instead of a value. Okay, up here we have self.min value, self.min value, self.min value. Okay, and self.min value. Now we still have a problem here because we need to change that. All right, easy enough. We can run this and it will work exactly the same because all we did was rename one property. But let's add a second property. And let's call it max value. And it's also a double. And again, we need to change this, change this, change this. And okay, let's think about this. All of these have these interesting ranges. This min value is 0. Let's make the max value 1. This, the min value is half. Let's make the max value 1. And this, the min value is 1. You know what? Let's make the max value 1 as well. And we'll resume. Oh, we need to add a max value here. And so we'll need a new state var. And now this value, this var here value should probably be called min value. And this text should show min value to max value. I'm just using an ellipsis between them. And I forgot the binding operator there. Okay. All right, now going back to our double-headed slider, we'll resume and we should still see nothing. Nothing has changed. But let's just add a second thumb. And let's just worry about its position for now. Instead of min value, its position will be based on max value. And there we go. From -1 to 3, we have something at 0 and something at 1. From -1 to 3, we have something at a half and something at 1. And this one, both min and max are 1. And the range is different. Okay, let's make the range the same, just so we can see that things line up. Okay. So here the min value and max value, the two thumbs are at exactly the same position. And you can see that deeper shadow there that kind of indicates that. And here the thumbs are a little bit further apart. Now, but we don't want to just have the thumb there. We also want to be able to drag it. So let's add this gesture to our second thumb. And again, anywhere that we see min value, we'll just change that to max value. And there's only the one spot. Hey, that's some good code. All right, let's run this. See what happens. The bars still don't really work, but they still line up with min value. But I can change the min value when I drag the first thumb. I can change the max value when I drag the second thumb. So it's working pretty well. Couple things that we need to change. We want this area in between the two thumbs to be accented, the front and the back not to be. At least that's my design. You might want to come up with something better than that. And also, we never want the min to be bigger than the max, and we can do that there. But let's start with that. Let's start by moving that accented thing into the middle. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to just add a third bar section. And the first one is now going to not be accented. The second one is going to be accented, and the third one will not be. This middle one, don't forget we don't need the bar inset on that because that was meant to spread the bar out, and we don't want that there. And so now let's talk about this third one first because, okay, so this bar section is this area from here to the first thumb, and it's working. It's doing exactly what we need it to do. This is from here to here, and that's a little more interesting. We'll come back to that. But then this is meant to go from the max value thumb to the end. And right now, it's going from the min value thumb to the end. So let's say we just change that to max value. I'll bet you it works. Now this space between the two thumbs, that's a little more interesting. And the best way I know to explain this is to just say that it's the lower bound plus the max value minus the min value. And if we resume, look at that. All right, let's run it and we'll test it with some other values. Okay, we have an accented area between the two thumbs. We don't want to cross them over, but I was just doing that to see what happens. Okay, that is working. Now, like I said, we don't want the max value to ever be smaller than the min value. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to restrict the drag. So, in the max value thumb, let's label that. In the max value thumb, we call for the value for the position and we set max value to it. But we don't want to set the max value to something smaller than the minimum value. So we need to massage this a little bit. We're gonna cut that out. We're gonna say let new value equals that calculation, and now we're gonna say self.maxValue equals the maximum of new value or self.min value. Another way of saying this is set the max value to the new value unless it's smaller than the min value. Let's try it out. Okay, so I drag my max value, I try to drag it below the minimum value, and it won't let me. It stops right there. Exactly what I wanted. Okay, now let's see if I take this minimum thumb and move it, it goes past the max. I don't want that. So I'm going to do the same thing just in reverse. Cut that, let new value equals this, self.min value equals now the the min of the new value or self.max value. In other words, set the min value to the new value unless it's unless it's bigger than the max value. In which case, just set it to the max value. And so I'll take this min thumb and I drag it and it stops at the max value. Max thumb, drag, stops at the min. Okay. There's just one little edge case here. So if I drag these and they end up representing the same number, I can start dragging and I can drag the top one to the right and then they separate and then I can drag the left one. And I can do that anywhere here. I can't click and drag the min value over to the left if the max value thumb is there, but I can drag it out over. So it would be nice if you could do it either way. We're not going to worry about that. But here's a funny little bug. If I drag this all the way over to the max value and I drag the min value over too, now if I try to drag that min value thumb, I can't get to it because when I click and try to drag, I'm dragging the top view, this top thumb, the max value thumb, not the min value thumb, which is underneath. And the only reason for that is because when we created them, we created the min value thumb first and then the max value thumb. So what we need is we need a way for this min value thumb to be in front of the max value thumb in this situation. Any other situation, we can do it the other way. But in this one situation, we need the min value thumb to be on top of the max value thumb. And so we'll use the z index for that. So the min value thumb, we say .z index, and we're just going to say it's 1. Okay? I think by default, everything else has a z index of 0, but that's 1. Now this max value thumb, we want its z index to be 2, in most cases, to be above the min value in thumb. But in the one case where we're at the upper bounds, then we want it to be behind the min value thumb, so we want it to be 0. So we're going to use the ternary operator for that. We're going to say if self.maxValue equals self.allowed.upperBounds, then the z index should be 0, Otherwise, it should be 2. And let's see what happens now. I drag that all the way to the top. I drag this underneath. Now if I click and drag to the left, the min value thumb drags out, and the max value thumb, I can then move it this way. We'll just make sure that the same thing doesn't happen on the other side, but it doesn't because the max value thumb is already above the min value thumb. Okay, that is creating a double-headed slider. There are a couple more things that we want to do to touch up, but that is the crux of the project.